Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Psalms, the 35th chapter. A psalm of David, prayer for rescue from enemies. Plead my cause, O Yahweh, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me. Take hold of shield and buckler and stand up for mine help. Right, so basically, shield and buckler, going into like weapons of war, right, of defense. So he's basically saying, Lord, gird up your weaponry, and your shield, and stand up and defend me, right, fight for me. Draw out also the spear and stop the way against them that persecute me. When you stop the way, you're defending, right? Like if there's a certain path, you stand in the way and you fight against anybody that comes through. And David is here saying, Lord, stand in the way, right? Protect me. Say unto my soul, I am thy salvation. Let them be confounded and put to shame that seek after my soul. Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt. Turn back is to cause them to retreat, right? So basically, the enemies, right? Let them be put to shame. Right, let them come in there, thinking that they're about to get an advantage, and then, be overwhelmingly destroyed by your power, Lord. Anybody that devises or plans my hurt or harm, let them be as chaff before the wind. And chaff is like husk, and husk can easily be blown away by the wind. So that's what David is saying here. Let my enemies be. It's like let them be likened unto chaff that is, blown away in the wind. And let the angel of the Lord Yahweh chase them, all right, or put them to flight. Let their way be dark and slippery. And if your way is dark and slippery, that means what? That you're going to fall. Because one, you can't see where you're going. And two, you don't have a footing. So let their way be dark and slippery. Let the angel of the Lord persecute them. And here David is asking for the Lord to send his angels to protect him and to basically harm or destroy his enemies. And that is, the same with us, right? We pray for the Lord, to protect us via his holy angels, which he does, and he's going to do. I believe that's in Daniel 12, right? That Michael, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, shall stand up. Verse 7, for without cause have they hid from me it's like here. For without cause have they hid for me their net in a pit, right? So that's a trap. When you hide a net in a pit, you set a trap that whoever falls into it should be caught. Which without cause they have digged for my soul, right? So David is saying here, these my enemies are basically, setting traps for me, right? I haven't made myself an enemy of them, and without cause they've made themselves an enemy of me, but they're out for me. So let destruction come upon him at unawares, right? When they least expect it, and let his net that he has hid or he hath hid catch himself. So the trap that they're setting, let it backfire on them, right? Let them walk into that trap that they set, into that very destruction. Let him fall. You see, and like I mentioned in a previous psalm, or in one of the videos on one of the previous psalms, that the things that David was praying for are also applicable to us now. Because just as David had enemies, we also have enemies, and we know that David often spoke in the Spirit, right, in the Holy Spirit in these psalms. Sometimes referring to Yahushai, but also sometimes speaking about us, right, in the latter times that would have to, suffer persecution, right, and have these adversaries against us, be it the wicked of our own people, be it Esau. David prophesied about all these things. It says, and my soul shall be joyful in the Lord Yahweh. It shall rejoice in his salvation. Right? Because when what is it, Revelation 15? See what, if that's the one. Revelation 15 and yeah, Revelation 15 and 13. Or I'll start at Slakia 2. And I saw as it were a sea of glass. Now this is John seeing the elect gaining the victory over the beast, right? Which is their enemy, which is our enemy. But it says here, I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire. Slakia, so it looked, that was him looking through the firmament, right down at the destruction. And them that had gotten the victory over the beast, which are who? The elect. And over his image and over his mark and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. So this was them also rejoicing, right, in the Lord, in his what? In his salvation. Verse 10, all my bones shall say, Yahweh, who is like unto thee? Meaning I'm going to rejoice with my whole heart, with my whole essence, you know, glorifying you, right? Who is like unto, unto you, which delivers the poor from him that is too strong for him. And right now we're likened unto the poor. And our adversary, this devil with his military, right? His power, his technology, you know, they're too strong for us, right? We can't win against them, not by ourselves, but through Yahushua we've gained that victory. Yea, the poor and the needy from him that spoileth him. False witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things I knew not. Okay, and this is also a prophecy, right, that was fulfilled in Yahushua. And let's get that account here in the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 59. It says, now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought what? False witness against Yahushua to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses. See, so going back to Psalm 35 and 11, false witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things I knew not, right? Things that the Lord was not guilty of. They said, nope, he is. Right, verse 12, they rewarded me evil for good to the spoiling of my soul. But, you know, you can also see that, you know, because that did also happen to Yahushua. Because what was the good that he was giving them? The word, the way back to salvation, the truth. But what did he get rewarded in return? Evil. He was put to death. Right, it says, but as for me, when they were sick, right, going back to, you know, David's psalm, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into mine own bosom. So he's saying here, right, but concerning me, when they were ill, I grieved for them. Right, I denied myself by fasting for them, but my prayers returned unanswered. I behaved myself as though he had been my brother or my friend or brother. I bowed down heavily as one that mourneth for his mother. Right, and you know, an example could be somebody like Saul, right? Because there were certain of David's adversaries, you know, that he didn't, even though they were against him, you know, as adversaries, he didn't have really like malice towards them. But in mine adversity, they rejoiced and gathered themselves together. Yea, the abjects gathered themselves, which is the, we'll go into that word abjects in a second. But it says here, the abjects gathered themselves together against me, and I knew it not. They did tear me and cease not. So he's saying, you know, when they were doing bad, I felt bad. But when I was doing bad, they rejoiced. Right? It says here in the NLT, but they are glad now that I am in trouble. They gleefully join together against me. I am attacked by people I don't even know. They slander me constantly. Okay, and we're also in that position. Why? For the testimony of Yahushua. Let's look at that word abjects. Abjects. So it says here, abject describes a state of being extremely unhappy, poor, or hopeless. So calamity, right? A bad time. So when you go here, what is David really saying, right? During my bad times, my evil times, right? When evil times was gathered against me along with them, it says I knew it not, right? But basically they were enjoying, rejoicing at that. With hypocritical mockers and feasts, they gnashed upon me with their teeth. And this wasn't, them literally biting and chewing upon David, but as he's saying here, they mock me and call me names. They snarl at me. So look at that word, snarl. To make an aggressive growl with bare teeth, right? The act of snarling or growling, which is holding or showing hostility towards one. Lord, how long wilt thou look on? Rescue my soul from their destructions, my darling, which is in other words, my life, from the lions, which is danger, right? So here he's likening his adversaries to lions seeking his life. And he's saying, Lord, how long are you going to allow this to go on? Right? I need you to rescue me, right? Deliver me from them. I will give thee thanks in the great congregation. I will praise thee among much people. Okay, and this, I believe this is also quoted in Hebrews. Let's go there real quick. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 11. It says, for both he that sanctifieth and they who are sanctified are all of one. For which cause he is not ashamed to call them brethren, saying, I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the church, I will sing praise unto thee. Okay? So as it says here, right, I will praise thee among much people, which there's another precept that, lines up more closely with Hebrews 2 and 11, but this is close to, because that's basically going back to what it said here, right? I will sing praise unto thee, right, in the midst of the church. But going back to what David is saying, basically, I'm going to be grateful for you delivering me, and praise you, right, among the people, make your name known, boast of your glorious acts. Let not them that are mine enemies wrongfully rejoice over me, neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without a cause. Let's go here to, I believe this is also in reference to the time of Yahushua. Yeah, right. It says they hated me without a cause. When you go back, what's that, verse 19? He says, let not them that are mine enemies wrongfully rejoice over me. That is what, deliver me, right? Give me the victory over them. As David is saying, neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without a cause. And did not they hate Yahushua without a cause? John 15:25, it says, but this cometh to pass, that the word might be fulfilled, that is written in their law, they hated me without a cause. And that's why they had to find false witnesses to condemn Yahushua, or to try to condemn him. Okay, so as it says, and let's read this in the NLT as well. Don't let my treacherous enemies rejoice over my defeat. Don't let those who hate me without cause gloat, that's that wink, over my sorrow. For they speak not peace, but they devise deceitful matters against them that are quiet in the land. You see? So they plan deceitful matters, that's evil, to deceive, to cause harm to those that are quiet in the land. Yea, they opened their mouth, and we are also likened unto those that are quiet. But they're going back to Micah 2 and 1, right? They devise iniquity upon their beds. Majority of the people at the end, like the targets in their plans, are against us. Yea, they opened their mouth wide against me and said, aha, aha, our eye hath seen it. Right? That's that rejoicing against me. They shout, aha, aha, with our own eyes, we saw him do it. And in this case, let's actually look at that word in the NIV, sneer. Right, look at that. A contemptuous or mocking smile, remark or tone. Right, speak or smile in a contemptuous or mocking manner. Right, it says here in the NIV, they sneer at me and say, aha, aha, with our own eyes we have seen it. Okay, and here, you see in the NLT, it's more of an accusatory tone. and you can have both, right? You know, you have people that they accuse, but in a mocking sense, you know, because they'll, as it says, aha, right? We saw him do it. They'll accuse you, but then they'll mock you, right? As their, you know, false accusations, you know, put you in a bad position. This thou hast seen, O Yahweh, keep not silence. O Lord, be not far from me. So he's saying, Lord, you're bearing witness to this, right? You're seeing them do all this. You're seeing that they're coming after me without cause. So don't leave me, right? Don't be far from me. Be nigh, be close. Stir up thyself, awake to my judgment, right? Basically to judge my cause, even to my cause, my God, my Lord. See? So awake to my judgment, you know, to deliver me. It says here, judge me, O Yahweh my God, according to thy righteousness, and let them not rejoice over me. This David is not asking here for the Lord to bring judgment upon him. Judge me says here, vindicate, okay? Absolve me of any accusations, Lord my God, according to your righteousness, and let them not rejoice over me. Because if the Lord judges you according to his righteousness, and you've been trying to live a righteous life according to his righteousness, then you'll be vindicated. Let them not say in their hearts, aha, or ah, so would we have it. Let them not say we have swallowed him up. So don't give them the edge or the ability, you know, to speak boastfully or reproachfully against me. Like, see, don't let them say, look, we got what we wanted, right? That is basically the demise here of David. Now we will eat him alive. That's not literal. What it means is that we'll get the advantage over him, right? He's at our mercy. And he's saying here, Lord, don't leave me. Don't put me in that position. See, he had a lot of adversaries. He had a lot of people that had it out for him, you know, and not as many allies, right, that could deliver him from it. Really, only the Lord. Let them be ashamed and brought to confusion together that rejoice at my hurt. Let them be clothed with shame and dishonor that magnify themselves against me. And why? Because the Lord would defend them, just like the Lord will defend us. And what is that going to do? It brings shame to your adversaries, those that are planning your hurt. Shame and confusion to those that rejoice at my hurt. That's your enemies. Okay, let them be clothed with shame and dishonor. Let that, you know, wrap them up in shame and dishonor. Let them shout for joy and be glad, and that favor my righteous cause. See, but those that favor my cause, those that are righteous, my companions, let them rejoice. Yea, let them say continually, let the Lord be magnified. Why? Because the Lord delivered, you know, if the Lord delivers one that is righteous, the rest of the righteous rejoice at it, right? Which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. And and my tongue shall speak of thy righteousness and of thy praise all the day long. And then we're also speaking of the righteousness and praise of the Lord all the day long, right? Continuously, what does it say in Isaiah 62? Keep not silence. So we're constantly speaking of the righteousness of the Lord in the earth. And that brings us to the end of the book of Psalms, 35th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.